love me, and I love you.
Content warning. The stories and themes shared throughout this podcast may contain themes that can be distressing for you. If needed, please pause and do what you need to do to take care of yourself. If needed, please reach out to a mental health professional for support.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Resilient AF with Blair and Alana. But this week, Alana's not here, but we're going to trade her in today for Dr. Susan Blumberg. She is a former child clinical psychologist turned life coach who has spent 40 years helping teens, young adults, and parents move from chaos and conflict to trust, respect, and connection. I honestly think everyone in the world needs that. She earned her PhD in child clinical psychology in 1991. Practiced as a cognitive behavioral therapist for 30 years and has served as a special education advocate for 4 decades. Today, she leads Dr. Susan coaching, guiding families through the demanding teen to adult launch years. She's the author of 7 books. She has a new book coming out. We're going to talk about all of that. She is a recognized authority on the twice exceptional children, which I just learned about that, which are children and basically, she's also an expert on nonverbal learning disability. So today we're going to talk about her journey as a parent, but also her career and the work she does. And her full bio and all of her links are in the show notes. But she is fascinating. So welcome to the show, Susan.
Thank you so much, Blair. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Amazing. I'm excited that you're here. So we only just met, but we fully hit it off. It feels like I've known you for a really long time. And the fact that you've been a part of, like, co-authored 7 books, but now your own book is coming out. Like, that's such a feat. So congratulations.
Thank you. It's so exciting. It was so hard to do it all on my own when I've co-authored all my other books.
Yeah.
But I felt like I had so much to say after all these years of helping families.
That's awesome. And like, I think also with your experience, and I think before we kind of dive into your personal story, can we maybe just do some definitions for people out there who are new to this? Like, what is twice exceptional? And we'll start with that. What's twice exceptional?
Yes.
2E children.
So 2E means children who, and adults, let me say, it's not something you grow out of. Being twice exceptional means you are both labeled gifted, and that could be intellectually, in the arts, such as music or dance, or even athletically in some way. And you also carry one or more disability label. So both of my own children, serendipity hits me. After 10 years working in this field, I had 2 children myself who both fall under that category. Both my children were identified as gifted. And also, my son carries 2 disability labels, and my daughter actually carries 5 disability labels.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much for explaining that. I didn't know that you were working in this space before you had children of your own.
Yes.
And I mean, if any parent is going to have children that are 2E, I mean,
yes.
What lucky kids.
That's why I say serendipity. I mean, many people who work in this field had their children realize they became so educated in meeting the needs of their own children and then decide to become professionals. But I already worked in this field and then had children who needed my own services.
Right. I think that's serendipitous. And what is nonverbal learning disability?
So that is a little bit of a misnomer, isn't it? Because these children are often very, very verbal. But what it means is they have difficulty with nonverbal skills. So that starts with visual spatial skills, such as math, maps and directions, motor and fine motor skills and gross motor skills, balance and coordination. I often say of my daughter that she can trip over the painted line in a parking lot. But it means eye-hand coordination. It means handwriting. That's why math is the difficulty. But it also means executive functioning skills, planning and organization skills. And last but definitely not least, nonverbal social skills. So, learning how to interact socially, reading people's nonverbal cues, tone of voice, body
Mm.
language. So, there's a lot of overlap with those social aspects of autism, but the visual, spatial, and the balance and coordination pieces are different. That's not usually part of autism.
Thank you for explaining that. I just think that's really important as we go into this conversation. Now, let's talk about you. And you shared with me that your daughter was born 16 weeks prematurely,
Correct.
and you had to marshal all of your emotional and professional
Oh,
resources and go from
yes.
shock and grief to advocacy and mama bear mode. Let's
Yes.
talk about that experience. Tell me your
Yes.
story.
So I was only 6 months pregnant, 24 weeks pregnant. I had just had my baby shower I only found out I was pregnant at 8 weeks. I had my baby shower at maybe 18 weeks. And 6 weeks later, I woke up one morning bleeding. So I rushed to the hospital and found out that I was in full labor. And so they rushed me into, I was at my OBGYN just wearing a shirt. They sit me on a wheelchair, throw a blanket over me, take me through an underground tunnel to the hospital next door, where they put me on a gurney upside down, head down, so the baby doesn't come out, and start trying to stabilize me. My
Wow.
baby was born 36 hours later. They could not stop the labor. She weighed 1 pound, 11 ounces at birth. A normal baby weighs between 6 and 8 pounds. And I was shocked. I mean, my first child, and I was 36 years old. I was an older parent, and I didn't know what to do. I truly didn't know what to do. I was horrified. Um, I had barely any time to be pregnant. I mean, I had only had 16 weeks of pregnancy because I had found out only at 8 weeks that I was pregnant at all. I hadn't been, really actively trying. I really didn't know what to do with myself. She spent 12 weeks in the neonatal intensive care unit. She spent 3 weeks of that on do not resuscitate orders after her lungs collapsed. Um,
Wow.
It was a very shocking experience because we didn't know if she would live or die for much of that time. She was not breathing when she was born. They had to put her on a ventilator to help her breathe, and the power of the ventilator burst her lungs. So she has scars in multiple places where they had to put in breathing tubes to
Hmm.
help bring her lungs back online, so to speak. And that's why we put her on do not resuscitate orders. We said if her heart stopped, we would let her go. She was so fragile, but she recovered from that and she lived. And after 12 weeks at 4 pounds, we brought her home, still on oxygen, still on heart monitors. She was severely developmentally delayed, did not meet any milestones, did not walk or talk on time, so to speak. She was so developmentally delayed. We had in-home early intervention, we had speech therapy, OT, PT, and yet at 3 months, at 3 years old, she scored at 47 months cognitive and communication and only 22 months in fine and gross motor skills. She was already twice exceptional at only 35 months old.
And what would be
Two,
what would the average?
well, at 35 months old, you would expect everything to be within just a few
Wait, how
months.
many? Okay, so for the non-children people, they're me, who's
Yes.
trying to quickly do the math. What is
So
that?
36 months is 3 years old.
Okay. Okay, so 3 years old.
36 months is 3 years old.
Hmm.
48 months would be 4 years old.
Okay.
22 months, 24 months is only 2 years old.
So
So
she
she was
was,
at 4 years old in her speaking and thinking. She was only 2 years old in
wow.
her, she wasn't able to do any of the walking, um, she didn't turn over, she didn't walk, she didn't do any of the skills you
Hmm.
expect children to do. So at 3 years old, she was like a 2-year-old in all the physical skills,
Hmm.
and she was like a 4-year-old in her thinking and talking. 2 years gap.
Okay. So let's just, first of all, thank you for sharing your story. I like
It was
that.
shocking.
It's
The
that's
grief, the loss, the feeling of what do you do with a child like this?
there's a lot.
That's
There's a lot there. And also, I mean, how scary for you.
yeah,
And I want to just quickly talk about you. So during that time, you're already an expert in what you're an expert in. Did you
yeah.
already know that there was going to be developmental delays or anything? And
Yes,
like,
yes.
I like to say, like, do what I say, not what I do. Like, obviously, do what I
So
do.
let me tell you what my job
I
was.
want to, and
So
I also want to, yeah, I want to know, like, how did you take care of yourself during that time, and how did you like prepare for
yes,
what was to come?
I went to we went to therapy. My husband and I went to therapy while she was still in the neonatal intensive care unit, and we continued to go to therapy after she was born in her carrier with her oxygen tanks. We
Yeah.
took her to therapy with us. Let me tell you my job, and then it's going to answer some of your question. At the time she was born, I was the early intervention psychologist at a health clinic where I evaluated babies at risk for early intervention services. And the woman in the office next door was the one who provided early intervention.
Mm.
So she had her first evaluation 3 days after she was born. People were coming to the hospital to evaluate her because I literally called up my next door neighbor and said, I have a baby to refer. And they said, of course, who? Because that was my job. I referred babies for early intervention. That
Wow.
was my job, 0 to 3. I did the evaluations and referred them. That was my job.
But how do you separate the
Serendipity.
job from the mom, from
You
being the
don't.
mom? Yeah.
You couldn't. That's why I went to therapy. The shock, the grief. I'm going to cry. Excuse me.
You can
I don't
cry.
cry often. My daughter is 31 years old now, and the shock still hits me every time I think about it. She was on a ventilator. She was on intravenous feeding. I started pumping breast milk immediately so that when she would be ready, she would have it stored up. I didn't know what else to do. So, what you do is you function, you sort of separate yourself. You go to therapy and you talk about it there. You go to the hospital 6 hours, 8 hours a day. You talk to the doctors, and then you go home and you talk to your friends and your family, and then you go to therapy twice a week
Mhm.
because the feelings, what did you do wrong? Did I not, was the fact that my fault that she was born early? Was it something I did? I drank. My husband's father had his second marriage a week before I found out I was pregnant. I drank champagne all night. Did that cause it? Was my age the problem? What did I do wrong? Did I make this happen? The chances of her even living, this was 1995. There was only a 60% chance that she'd live with severe disabilities. There was a 5% chance she'd just die, which is why we had her on do not resuscitate orders after her
Mm.
lungs collapsed. Was this my fault? It was not my fault. It was not my fault. Apparently, there's a much higher risk of having premature babies at high altitudes.
And you're in a high altitude.
And I live in Colorado at 1 mile high.
Mm.
I also had a condition. I always say, a male gynecologist named this condition. It's called incompetent cervix, where under the pressure of a baby, your cervix opens involuntarily. You can sew it closed if you know you have this condition, but I didn't know. So my
Mm.
cervix opened and the baby fell out. Seriously, that's what happened.
That's just, I can't, like, that is such a journey, Susan. And I'm really sorry that you went through such deep trauma. Like,
It's so
it's
hard.
terrible that you experienced that. And now that's been over 3 decades.
Yes. And you can still see how emotional I get talking about it. But let
How,
me tell you
yeah.
some other things.
Okay.
My daughter is profoundly gifted. She's brilliant. She's beautiful. She's an accredited pastry chef. She has a bachelor's degree in biology. She has so much value in her life because I was who I was, because we got her the right services. And I
Hmm.
have dedicated my life since she was born helping other families not not be lost, getting the resources they need so that other families, all the 1,000 families I've worked with, not be lost,
Yeah.
so that
I
they
can't
can help their
imagine like
kids.
it happening and then you know what to do, but like what happens? Or
When you
maybe
don't,
someone's listening to this and they just are realizing by listening, oh, my child is a 2E, twice exceptional child, or
exactly.
I'm twice exceptional. What do you
Yes,
recommend these adults or parents that are
yes,
just learning that this is what they are? Because
this is
I'm
my
okay, because like
path.
I'm a vintage millennial. And what I'm seeing is a lot of people in my world, because of videos on Instagram and TikTok, are realizing, oh, I might be like autistic and ADHD. Oh, I might have this, I might have that. And they're going to the doctors and learning in their
Yes,
late 30s, 40s.
yes,
And
this
so,
is my mission.
mhm.
That's why I do what I do,
So what would you
because
tell someone who's just learning in
yes,
their adult life or learning that their kid might be this? Like, what are the steps? Like, what should they do?
there's so much you can do. The first is if your kid is in school up through college, they are legally entitled to supports and services.
Mhm.
That's what professional special education advocates do. And that's what disability services programs in colleges do. You're legally entitled to those services. And people like me and other special education advocates can help you get those services up through college. We're out there. I can direct you to those services. There
Mhm.
are agencies across the United States and in other countries. And people like me can help you get connected to those services. There's also parent support services that can connect you to what's available in your state. So in the US, for example, there are federally mandated parent support and training agencies. Every
Mm.
state in the US has one. I can help connect you to those. It's called Parent to Parent of the United States. It's a national organization. Every state has a chapter. There are learning disability organizations in Canada, in the UK. I can help connect you to those. I'm the admin of one of the largest international parent of twice exceptional children Facebook support groups. Let
Yeah.
me know you're interested. I can get you connected. We have over 35,000 members, mostly in the US, Canada, and the UK, but we have members from Egypt, Singapore, Poland, the Scandinavian countries, Israel, Arab countries, every country you can think of, over 35,000 members. I get 20 to 50 new requests on a daily basis.
Wow. Wow. And so, like, if you're just learning about this, dive in, research,
Yes,
join these groups. Like, you aren't alone. And,
right?
this is completely different, but I was officially diagnosed with ADHD at 39.
Yes.
And for me,
Now,
there was a huge grief there of like all the things I thought were wrong with me because I was always in trouble for
exactly.
doing certain things as a kid was just my neurodivergence. It was my ADHD. And
Exactly.
I felt also this grief of like, if I would have known as a kid and got medicated or extra support, imagine what I could have done.
But now you have that opportunity. There are
Exactly.
ADHD organizations for adults that
Hmm.
run support groups
Oh, yeah.
internationally. There's a national conference for ADHD women. that I highly recommend.
Ooh, that's amazing. And so, just because I want to make sure we have enough time to talk about this,
Yes.
you have your book coming out, The Parenting Compass. It's
Yes.
coming out August 2026.
Yes.
What is this book about?
Thank you for asking. The subtitle is Why Smart Teens Struggle. And this is my book for parents of twice exceptional and neurodivergent teens. And I cover literally every chapter starts with a letter, A to Z. Everything you need to know from active listening, independence, IEPs if you need help getting support in schools, managing expectations, vulnerability and resilience. That's my
Hmm.
V chapter. Extraordinary children, quirky kids. I talk about everything parents need to know to support your twice exceptional and neurodivergent children. 40 years of what I've learned working with families of twice exceptional and neurodivergent teens and young adults, what you need to know about school, about disabilities, about bedtime, about homework, so that I can share not just my knowledge, but my strategies about executive functioning, about expectations, about communication and problem solving. And I've distilled it into 150 pages. It's an easy read. I use the research that my work is based on. A lot of it is evidence based, but it's a parenting book. It's not about schools. It's not about advocacy. It's a parenting book.
Hmm.
I want to make it easily accessible for all of you.
That's amazing. And so that's going to be available on Amazon. And
Yes, it is.
I I think it's great the way you broke it down. It's really special out there, especially because you are one of the leading voices and authorities on twice exceptional children, and
Thank
this
you.
being focused on teenage life. Like I have a lot of friends with preteens and or tweens and teenagers. Like without being twice exceptional is difficult,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
so,
Just for neurotypical teens, it's hard.
do you want to share maybe a little bit from your? Like, you don't have to read it, but like do you share personal like stories? Like, do you share?
I share a lot of my family stories and, with permission, a lot of the stories of my clients.
Yeah, do you want to share? Like, tell us
I
about. It
would
doesn't have to be word
love
for word,
to.
but yes, please
I would
do.
love
Yeah,
to. So I have permission from my kids to share their stories. It's one of the things I say right up front in the book. And I share the story a lot about my own son. My son started struggling in middle school, not turning in assignments, not speaking up in class. He loved being the class clown. Well, I'm going to change that. He didn't love being the class clown. He was the class clown because it was his way of handling his
yeah.
ADHD, his anxiety. Those are his two diagnoses, because he was having difficulty coping with being really gifted, but not knowing how to manage his executive functioning problems. And so we ended up having to put him on a behavior plan. He had to turn in his work. He had to check in with his teachers on a regular basis. But by ninth grade, things were really out of control. He ended up lying to me all the time about whether or not he did his work, whether he was studying for his tests. And then I started getting those horrible automated messages. We use Infinite Campus here in Denver. It could be Power School, Schoolology. Every school district uses a different program, right? Missing assignments, failing, because he had zeros on his teacher wiki pages. I was getting all these horrible messages, and my son and I were fighting constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And I will confess, here I am, the psychologist, right? Coach, specialist in executive functioning. And I was screaming at my son. I would lose my temper because he was lying to me. And lying is something we took really seriously. So
Mm-hmm.
he was getting two punishments. He was getting a punishment for breaking our family rules about not doing his work, and not turning in his assignments. And he was getting a second punishment for lying, which in our house was that he would lose his weekly allowance. Every time you lied, you lost your weekly allowance,
Oh
which
gosh.
was a really big deal in our house.
Yeah.
So here's what was happening. Um, I kept trying to give him insights into here's executive functioning strategies, things to try, and he wouldn't listen to me. So I'm going to ask you a question, Blair, and our listeners. Here's the question. Why wasn't he taking my advice?
Was it
Do
how
you
you
know
were
the answer?
delivering it?
No, it was even simpler than that.
I have no idea.
I was his mother. He wouldn't listen to me because I was his mom.
Mm,
So he wouldn't do anything I said. So what did I end up having to do? Here I am, this expert executive functioning coach and psychologist. I had to hire an executive function coach for my own son. It was life changing,
hmm
honestly, because I no longer checked Infinite Campus 3 times a week. I no longer got those nasty messages saying missing assignments and failing a class. Everything was handled by the outside coach. And what happened instead? He and I could talk about exotic cars again. We both have a mutual love of Rolls Royces and Maseratis. And
hmm
we'd look at pictures and we'd see them on the street. He and I could watch his famous favorite science YouTubers together. We went to movies. We went out to eat before his Taekwondo class. We went back to our good relationship together. It absolutely was life changing. It really made all
hmm
the difference in the world to us as a family.
Wow.
It really changed everything.
That's a cool story. Thank you for sharing that. And, you know, if you're listening and you're like, oh, maybe I should try that, like, this is what Susan does.
It is.
Um, I really appreciate you coming on and taking the time to share a small portion of your journey and to talk about the work you do and your book. Well, as we wrap up, I would love to invite you to share a piece of advice for any new mothers going through something similar where their child is, you know, born fairly prematurely, where they are
Have a
predispositioned.
predisposition
Yes.
to having disability labels.
Yes.
The reality is about 50% of all kids who are born prematurely will have one or more disability label. That's just reality. And the likelihood is that all premature babies will end up with developmental delays at the very least.
Mm,
Please find your early intervention community immediately. Don't wait to be referred until your baby is out of the NICU. Find
hmm
them right away.
hmm
Early childhood goes through your Department of Education, in most cases, sometimes Department of Health. And if you're in the US, find your parent to parent chapter immediately. Don't wait to be referred. Don't let your pediatrician tell you they might grow out of it. Find your early intervention immediately if your child is born more than 3 weeks prematurely.
Wow.
It's urgent. Even 35, 36 weekers can have some developmental delays. You're legally entitled to have an early intervention evaluation. If your baby is smaller, like mine, 24 weeks to 28 weeks, you will benefit from early intervention services. But here's the even bigger thing: get therapy for yourself.
hmm
You need it. You need find a support group through parent to parent or through your parent PTI, it's called. You can find that. Again, every state in the US has one. Get therapy for yourself. We
hmm
deserve it. It wasn't our fault. We didn't do anything wrong. These things happen. Get support for yourself, for your spouse. Don't wait to see if your child will grow out of things. We deserve the support. Our child needs us to be okay. It's the airplane. Put your own mask on
hmm
first. Take care of ourselves so we can take care of our babies.
You're so wise. This is such beautiful advice. And I'm Canadian, and I've never been down this road, but I've worked, I've been in the hospital with a lot of family members with different medical stuff, and our hospitals offer social workers, and they may
Yes,
be a really good resource also to help point you in the right
yes,
direction. Luckily, the
they
internet and
are.
Google is great, and Susan's contact information is below. You're not alone. You're not alone to go through this. And I am so grateful for you coming on, Dr. Susan Bloomberg, to share your knowledge and your wisdom with
Thank
us.
you.
And I cannot wait to get this book out into the world for you. And
Thank you.
yes, so
Thank
thank
you
you.
so much. I've offered a free gift. It's for parents of teens, which is about how to help your teen with executive functioning skills. And the link will be there as well.
Yeah, so the link is in the show notes. If you're driving, remember this for later or pull over. And yeah, like Susan's here to support you. So thank you to everyone who tuned in for another episode of Resilient AF. It's okay to not be okay. You will get through
Yes,
that hard stuff. And let
yes.
us be that lighthouse in the storm. You're not alone, and you are Resilient AF. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a wrap for another episode of Resilient AF with Blair and Alana. And thank you for listening. Are you feeling inspired to bounce forward?
Let's connect at theglobalresilienceproject.com, where you can read many stories of resilience, buy our books, shop our clothing line, learn more about how to strengthen your resilience muscle, be empowered, and more.
Remember, friends, you are Resilient AF.